So today I'm going to be building my own GMT watch, but with prices of NH34 movements through the roof, I've been on the hunt for a good alternative, which is when I came across the Ronda 515.24 GMT Quartz movement. What is up everyone, I'm Jason from jb.watchmods. Welcome back to the channel. Now for those of you who have been building or modding watches for at least 12 months, you would remember the good old days when you could get an NH34 movement for under $50. Fast forward to today and they're anywhere from $150 to over $200. Absolutely crazy. Now, I don't know the exact reason for this price hike, but it has caused me to look into alternative movements, which led me to the Ronda 515.24 movement. Now, this is a GMT Quartz movement, and it's got a date wheel, a hacking seconds hand, and has a battery life of around 3.5 years. And an accuracy of -10 to +20 seconds per month. Now, to give you an idea of how good that is, an NH34 movement has an accuracy of around -20 to +40 seconds per day. Now, unfortunately, as this is a quartz movement, you don't get that lovely second hand sweep. But if that doesn't bother you, this could be the perfect replacement for the NH34. So let's take a quick look at what we're going to be pairing our movement with. We've got a 40mm vintage style Submariner case, and it's got a 24-hour aluminium bezel and flat sapphire crystal. And we're going to be pairing that with a brushed oyster bracelet. And lastly, we've got our black vintage style dial. Now, I've applied my own logo to this dial, and if you want to see how I do that, I've got a full video over on my Patreon page, which I'll leave a link for in the video description. And we're using our Mercedes hands with a pop of orange on that GMT hand. So with all of that said, I am really excited to see how this watch is going to come together. So let's jump into the build. So this is our Ronda 515.24 Quartz GMT movement, and this is our dial that we're going to be using. Now this dial has 4 dial feet on the back of the dial, and we only need 2 of them. So it's time to grab our side cutters and cut the 2 feet off that we don't need. Once those 2 feet have been cut off, there's always a little nub left on the dial that needs to be sanded flat. So I use my Dremel just to grind down these nubs so the back of the dial is nice and flat. Then we'll give the dial a quick clean just to make sure there are no metal shavings on the back of the dial that could fall into the movement. Now let's grab our movement, and as you can see there are 2 hands fitted to the movement which are there to help hold the gears in place while the movement is in transport, so we can go ahead and remove these hands. So to do this, I like to place a small bit of plastic over the movement just to protect it so I don't scratch it while prying the hands off with my hand remover tools. Now, similar to our NH34 movement that most of you might be familiar with, this movement also uses a dial washer which sits in between the movement and the dial. It's also a similar U-shaped washer, and the top of the U needs to sit against the dial. Once we've got that washer fitted, we can go ahead and press our dial into place. So now that our dial is fitted, and by the way it's just a press fit, we can go ahead and rotate our movement until we get to the 12 o'clock position. Once we see that date wheel start to change, we know we're at 12 o'clock when it flicks over. Then we can set our hands accordingly. Now, before we go ahead and fit our hands, I'm going to fit our movement spacer first. And the reason I'm going to do this is so that it fits into my movement holder for my hand press. We're using an NH35 case, which means that this spacer should fit into my hand press perfectly. So now we can start fitting our hands, and the first hand up is our GMT hand. Now we know we're at 12 o'clock on the movement, so we can set this hand at the 12 o'clock position. Once I press that hand down, I like to pull the movement out and make sure that that hand is sitting nice and flush and level. Now on this dial, it's not a huge deal because the dial has printed indices, but you want to make sure that that hand has the appropriate clearance so it doesn't foul on any indices or the rest of the handset that we're going to press on now. You also want to make sure that when you rotate the movement over, the date changes when your GMT hand is back at the 12 o'clock position. Now that everything's looking good, we can go ahead and press on our hour hand. Now, for those wondering about the tip sizes of my hand press, I'm using similar sizes to when I do an NH series movement, but I've gone one size smaller on every hand. So to press on the GMT hand on this movement, I've used the hand tip that I would normally use to press on the hour hand of an NH movement. And to press the hour hand on the Ronda movement, I've used the tip that I would normally use to press the minute hand on an NH series movement. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I'm just double checking that everything lines back up at the 12 o'clock position before going ahead and pressing on our minute hand. Now, as many of you would know by now, I like to use rotor code to hold my hands while pressing them down. I just find that it's the best method and doesn't leave any scratches or marks on your handset. So again, we're just going to double check everything and make sure that everything lines back up at 12 o'clock once that movement is rotated and that none of the hands foul on each other at any stage. This is especially important on a GMT movement when you've got so many hands occupying such a small space. Once we're happy that everything is looking good, we can move on to the final hand, which is our second hand. Now, unlike the previous 3 hands that we've done, which needed to be pressed on at 12 o'clock, we can press the second hand on at any position. This movement has hacking, which means that when we pull the crown out, the second hand stops ticking. So we can stop and start the second hand at any time that we like, meaning that it's not important to press this hand on at 12 o'clock. And once we've got that second hand pressed into place, we'll do one final check just to make sure that everything is operating as it should. And you can see that second hand is ticking away, the date wheel changes, and the GMT hand moves as it should. Everything is looking spot on, so we can move on to the next step, which is going to be preparing our case to accept our movement. So first things first, let's unscrew our case back and remove our case back and case back gasket. Then we can start cleaning our crystal, and to do this I like to use my air blower and a lens pen. And make sure that you clean both sides of the crystal before fitting your movement. This way you can be 100% certain that the crystal is spotless before everything goes together. Now that our crystal is spotless, let's put this to the side for a second and grab our movement and dial. We'll give this one last clean just to make sure that there's no dust on the dial before fitting the two together. And that rotor code that we used earlier to set our hands is great for cleaning anything off the dial. So before we fit our movement into our case, we need to remove the dummy crown stem. And to do this, there is a small button on the back of the movement which needs to be pressed in while pulling out the crown. The crown needs to be in the middle position or the date setting position in order for the crown to be released. Now we can finally pair the two together. Once we have our movement in our case, we need to make sure that the movement is in the correct position. And we can do this by checking the crown stem hole in the movement, making sure that it lines up with the crown stem hole in the case. Then we can remove our crown from our case and grab our dummy crown stem that we removed from our movement earlier and remove the dummy crown fitted to the stem. Next, we'll fit the crown from our case to the crown stem and fit it into the movement to see how much we need to cut off this crown stem to get it down to the right length. Now you can see here with the crown stem fitted into the movement, the crown sticks out from the case around 4 to 5 millimeters. So what we're going to do is pull the crown back out of the case, remove the crown from the crown stem and cut around 4 to 5 millimeters off the crown stem. After cutting the crown stem, sometimes there can be sharp edges left on the threads, so I like to grab my Dremel and sand down the end of the threads to make sure that there are no burrs that could damage the threads inside the crown. Now let's give it another test fit to see how it looks. And it's actually looking much better now, and the crown looks like it screws all the way down to the case, which means we've nailed the length. So what we're going to do is pull the crown back out and add some Loctite to these threads just to make sure that the crown doesn't come loose. Now I use a medium strength Loctite, just in case we ever need to remove the crown, we shouldn't have too many issues. And always make sure to remove any excess Loctite with a bit of towel just so it doesn't go through your movement. Now we're ready to fit our crown to the movement for the final time. And once the crown's fitted, it's always a good idea to make sure that you can get all the positions of the crown with the crown stem at its final length. So now that's done, let's grab our case back gasket and pop it in some silicone grease to lubricate it before fitting it to our case. The case we're using has a groove in the case itself, which the gasket sits in. Some cases have the gasket on the case back gasket, so just look out for this when you're fitting your gasket. Now we can pop our case back on and seal this watch up. And if you're interested in any of the tools that I've used during this build, like this case back tool, I'll leave all the tools that I use linked in the description below, including all of the parts for this watch build. Or if you want to buy a completed watch that is already built, head over to my website, which I'll leave linked in the video description. But now we are on to the final step of this watch build, which is fitting our bracelet. Now we're using a brushed oyster style bracelet with hollow end links to keep with that vintage style theme. I really love the style of these vintage explorers, and having a Quartz GMT that's ready to pick up and go whenever I want is going to be super convenient. But now that this watch is just about done, let's flip it over, run some B-roll and see how this watch turned out. Today's build. I would love to hear in the comment section below your thoughts on this build and on this movement. Personally, I think I'll be using this movement a lot more going forwards. There's a decent amount of parts already available, it adapts easily to NH cases, and it's easy to work with. But I would still love to see a sweeping second hand, so if you've got any good GMT movement suggestions, I would love to hear about them. But that is going to do it for today's video. If you've liked the video or gotten anything helpful out of it at all, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next video.